Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Samuel Lubega podcast. Thank you for joining me today, my lovelies, my lovelies. Anybody who's here, go ahead, get comfortable, come in. Today is going to be titled Creating Chaos, and it's just going to talk a little bit about how we have found ourselves in such a fun predicament. To understand the dilemma that many of us face when it comes to not only diving into the depths of the internet, but also just expressing ourselves, is that our entire personality might be controlled in some sense or form mathematically due to an algorithm or a mathematical model designed to help you keep scrolling. We've traded raw emotion and human intuition for the hollow comfort of like prediction models. Like that's why everybody's kind of like pushed into this scape of prediction economics, right? Through, Gaussian poly market, being able to guess the future, even if the future is then kind of pre-dedicated for you. It's very important to recognize the difference between having intuition and having a good system feeding you what it is you want to hear. And just like, the nourishment of a parent or the soothing song of a grandmother, these things can only be heard under the right lens of attention. And it's not one of those things you just fix in a day, right? But I just see it kind of become such a huge elephant in the room that there's so many missed opportunities to grow the messy way. Like there's so many different ways that you can not only be an influence for somebody else, but really be an inspiration for yourself. And I think a lot of times you don't really recognize who you are for other people until the work is done or the gratification is there. And I think there was this musician I was listening to, name is Molly Vasquez, and it was crazy because I was watching, you know how they do open desk or like tiny NPR desk. If you don't know what a tiny NPR desk is, it's basically they invite the artist and they play in a very enclosed area. It's very intimate, and they allow all the instrumentals to have their own little solos. And I was like, wow, this song is amazing. It's so moving, and it felt like it was speaking to me. And I realized that this artist had maybe like, I don't know, 20,000 listeners on Spotify and had been AFK for 3 years. And I know how everybody kind of dives into you have your 80s genres or your 90s genres. But it was one of those ways that it struck me a little bit where, it was almost sad to not see them succeed in a way that was world shattering, like earth shattering. And then I thought for a little bit and I was like, why does that matter? It reached the target audience, right? It reached you. But I think the lens and scope of being one, successful, two, impactful, and three, purposeful has all been miscalculated, misguided, misconstrued into this idea that in order to be somebody worthy of changing somebody's life for the better or worthy of putting yourself in a position to challenge not only your own norms and your own systems, but challenge the world around you is such a success loop that we stray further and further from the challenges that are necessary, right? To fail in front of people, to fail to yourself over and over again, and just like let that be on display, I think is only a beautiful thing for the people who need it the most. And you gotta visualize Think about if you had an orchestrator. Um, what are they called with the little thimbles? They're like do 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 do. Or just think of an orchestra, right? The conductor. There we go. You know the famous thing, the conductor can only conduct when he turns his back on the audience or her back on the audience. The the most, you know, ironic thing about being that kind of person, if you are listening to this and you're like, "Hey Sam, I'm really just trying to hear you out. I don't know where I'm at right now, but I find solace in knowing that somebody else is thinking like me." You gotta find what your instruments are, and you gotta speak to those as hard as you can, and you gotta make the world dance, right? The alternative is to shrink and dissolve and then despair. And it's so easy to do that because the second that you're despaired, I can sell you something. But I don't want this to turn into a negative light of you can or can't do something based on your attitude. That's a misconstruction. You can do something regardless of your attitude. You can do something with hate. You can do something with vengeance. You can do something with envy. You can do something with just pure spite. The gas in the tank doesn't change how the engine runs, right? It might help sustain how long it runs, right? But it doesn't change the core being that is the driver. And all of us, we live in a digital cage, right? That we kind of encapsulate in ourselves, that we run over and over again. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing because if you can recognize it, that attention of awareness makes it kind of flip on its head, and then you become supercharged with all these resources. You have to dismantle the idea that, you can separate yourself from one, the things that you consume, and two, the people in your life, the people in your circle, the music in your circle, the media that you grow from. And so in order to do that, you have to become kind of an architect of your own life. You have to become an architect of what you laugh at, what you smile at, what you frown at. I think I struggle with this, but it always is very interesting when there are people in their life that know what they want. Everybody has that person. I have that person thinking about them now where they know exactly what it is they like and they don't change. I think the people who know what they like, especially in today's world, are superheroes. The amount of decisions and amount of decision fatigue that people face. Think about it. If I was buying a webcam, it took me maybe 2 hours because of just the plethora of really word vomit and the decision making that can go into this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. And you got to realize you only have so much control over one thing at one time. And that be a sport, that be a job, that be a hobby, that be a book, that be a painting. Anything you do, you can only do one thing at one time. And I think the attention deficit crowd, the overstimulated crowd of, man, I'm getting 10 ads in between the thing that I want to do. I'm getting 20 different notifications for my Teams meeting every 10 minutes. just to get to the email that I'm trying to look at. All of it is kind of the snake eating itself. You have access to so many people. You have access to so many ideas, right? That the idea that your opinion, your vision is valuable is a dying thought. And the predictive models of what that behavior looks like, be that not even a computer, but a person, be that a hater, be that a apathetic bystander, be that a transactional bipartisan party, whatever the case might be, right? All of that leads to more hurdles so that you can more clearly define yourself. And the script sounds good, and I was so proud watching. I saw this thing on Substack the other day. The CEO released a new writing model robot that basically doxes anybody who uses any type of written AI, and basically puts you on blast. Like, hey, you're using AI. I mean, if we don't like that, we don't like that. But you know, it's one of those things. It's like if you it's the same way of like if you like regular bacon on your burger and somebody halfway through eating your burger is like, oh, did you know that burger was made in a lab and it's 96% lettuce? You know, it's kind of like that. You just feel disrespected. You feel gross. But they made that change, and I was proud of that. I was really excited for that. And I actually recognized it when I was typing out something to say, and it said, do you want to check for AI? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then I realized that if you go down the app, you don't have to optimize how you feel. You don't have to optimize, you know, your own vision for sake of understanding. It's just really cool to think about it as we move forward in the idea of being an independent in a unstable future. You'll meet the right people. And it's time for everyone to go a little bit further beyond your script. And I think as we kind of move forward with kind of security precautions and how we move forward with the digital landscape of information, people will recognize and realize everything will come to light. And there should be a freedom in that. There should be a rediscovery in that. And the only way to endure is to allow for every part of the process to simply be. You can only do that by putting yourself out there. I just wish as things got harder, decisions got easier, and it's actually the opposite. As things get harder, decisions get more nuanced. People become more nuanced. Visions become more elusive. But I want to be able to share that empowering thought with you. Rock your own boat. Change your mind. See what happens. I think we are so easily thrown into to the silos of a way of thinking that originality is fear of change. Originality is deciding one thing and then staying there for the rest of your life. And to speak to the own contradiction is to be able to like something. I really hope I land this plane. To be able to like something, right? And be okay with changing your mind is what will get you from one step to another, to another, to another. That can help you step out of falling in the pit hole, into the pitfall that turns all of those decision-making outlets into internal battlefields. Now you're not fighting yourself, you're simply watching yourself grow. And if we collectively, right, can continue to take that step forward, and one, accepting ourselves, this is who I am right now. Forget everything I can't control. And then evolve with what comes next, good or bad, feelings good or neutral. I don't know. I think it takes time, but I really do believe that putting yourself out there, regardless of what you do, is so important. I mean, it's important, and also you don't have an option if you're Gen Z or Gen Alpha. If you're really in the cut, it's the new age. I hope somebody got something out of that for today. But that's the episode. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Always double check to make sure your phone is charging. The energy is a little bit lower because it's later. Got my music vibing. But like I said, I'm going to be out here for y'all, and I'm going to keep pushing. So like, subscribe, share, add, tag, or just give me some hate comments for real, because that would be cool too. You know, I like my bots. So either way, take care. Much love. See you in the next one. Bye.